Hi, my name is Paolo and I'm the Business Development Manager at the Capta Group in the amazing Cairns and Great Barrier Reef region of tropical North Queensland. I'm thrilled to be here with you to talk about customer service. It's the glue that keeps your business running successfully. Bottom line, if you aren't able to at least meet your customers' expectations, they're not coming back. I've worked for the last 25 years or so in tourism and hospitality in various sales and marketing and management roles across Queensland, the Northern Territory and New South Wales. I realised early on in my career the real value of the customer and the importance of taking every opportunity to get customer service right. So take this course as your essential companion for creating that incredible customer service that keeps customers coming back for more. We're talking about the most common challenges that all business owners face in some way or another: communication, cultural differences, or customer complaints. Whatever makes you nervous about creating a customer experience, we've got the strategies you need to face that fear, meet your goals, and impress your customers. Ready to kick off? In this lesson, we're starting with the basics. Why customer experience is so important. We'll explore the customer life cycle, as well as draw on some real-world examples of what great customer service looks like, so you can put it into practice straight away. All right, I think that gives us a good place to start, so let's dig in. Off the top of your head, what would you say is the most important part of your business? Is it your product, your general manager, your employees? Well, all of these are important, but none of them are the most important. And that honour goes to your customers. Without customers, you don't have a business. End of story. I was once told by a mentor of mine who quoted Kenneth B. Elliott, "A customer is the most important visitor on our premises. We're not doing them a favour by serving, they're doing us a favour by giving us the opportunity to do so." And Steve Jobs suggested, get closer than ever to your customers, so close that you tell them what they need well before they realise it themselves. And that's a really important thing to remember. Customers should be at the forefront and core of everything you do. That's what the tourism industry is built on. Customers are essential to tourism on every level. Their spending helps stimulate the economy, which helps keep businesses afloat and keeps employment rates strong. Tourism is also an amazing industry for personal and professional growth, a place where you can build transferable skills and get an incredible amount of satisfaction out of your work. And all that starts with your customers. And this leads us to the next thing to think about, the stages of the customer service journey. We call these touch points. Now, you might think the customer life cycle starts the first time you speak with a potential customer, but that's actually not the case. The customer experience begins the first time they hear about your business, and that's usually through digital presence. This is your online product marketing and your online booking system. Let's say you're planning a holiday to Cairns and you're choosing between two animal parks that caught your interest. One has an old and outdated website, no pictures and mixed reviews with no responses. The other has a really nice Instagram feed, loads of social media interaction and mixed reviews with reasonable and friendly responses. Which one do you try to book first? Honestly, if I see an attraction that has no pictures, I get a little suspicious. It's not even worth contacting them when there are so many businesses that do have a transparent online presence. The second part of digital presence is the booking and confirmation process. It needs to be an automated and effortless booking process with immediate confirmation. So be proactive rather than reactive. If you notice the systems are a barrier for customer bookings, flag this with your manager. It's much easier to set a positive, welcoming tone at the start rather than trying to undo a negative impression down the line. The next important touch point is first contact. A customer might ring you, send an online message or request, or even stop by in person. However they contact you, it's super important to follow these rules. Respond promptly, respond within brand guidelines, and always use active listening. To learn more about these rules, check out my lesson, Effectively Communicating Customer Service. And here's a bonus tip. People can easily tell when you're smiling while you're talking. Always smile, even if the customer can't see your face. The next touch point will be customer requests. Maybe adding on to their current booking or asking for an exclusive experience. You'll still need the rules you used for first contact, respond quickly and within brand guidelines. But that active listening is especially important here. Customers won't have a good experience if they don't feel heard. Next is the experience itself. This is the product they're coming for, visiting the zoo, feeding the crocodiles or getting onto the reef. This needs to live up to the hype. Anyone can make an experience sound great, but it takes truly excellent customer service to deliver an experience that is great. Avoid under-delivering by assessing customer needs and expectations and providing service that exceeds those expectations. And in that same vein, the next touch point is the farewell. Customers should be leaving with a smile so that the customer experience carries on long after they've left your venue. Ideally, it's an endless cycle. Positive experiences create future visits, and that's how you develop customer loyalty. And now we have the last stage in the cycle before we get back to digital presence: feedback. You can probably already see how feedback and digital presence play into each other. Reviews and ratings are left online, and that will help inform future customers. Again, it's so important to respond to feedback quickly within brand guidelines and in a way that makes customers feel heard. Doing this right can make customers surprisingly forgiving and is a great look for you and your business. Customer experience matters. The cycle matters. And if a customer has a bad experience, that turns into negative reviews and lower ratings, then new customers don't make that first point of contact with you. Let's cement what we've talked about with a quick exercise. Do a quick search for some random tourism attractions in your area and check out their digital presence. Which one do you lean more towards and why? What gives your preference the edge over the others? And now let me leave you with these 3 things to think about. Without customers, you don't have a business. Customer experience begins the first time they hear about your business, not the first time you talk to them. And the customer life cycle is an ongoing loop, and a transparent on-brand digital presence is key to a healthy customer life cycle. Communication is a key part of tourism, but it's also the easiest part to take for granted. There's so much going on that before you know it, the day's gone and you didn't really think about how you were communicating. But effective communication doesn't happen by accident. So in this lesson, we'll review the principles of good communication and how to adapt your communication style to reflect your business. We'll also look at how to identify your customer, and we'll share a few tips on how to build rapport with your customers. So how do we communicate effectively? Let's break communication into 3 principles: transparency, friendliness, and empathy. From these, you can build an effective strategy for interacting with customers, diffusing stressful situations, and encouraging return customers. Starting with transparency. This means you're open and honest with your customers. It shows that you respect them and value their time. You might disclose information to help a customer understand an add-on or an unforeseen challenge. The more open you are, the more trustworthy you seem, and that benefits every touch point of the customer life cycle. If you haven't already, check out my lesson on the importance of the customer. Next, we have friendliness. Effective communication for customer service is more than just being polite. It's confidence, enthusiasm, and helpfulness. Customers notice when you're disengaged, and this can have a serious impact on the customer experience. A positive attitude is a must. Lastly, there's empathy. This is your ability to put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you've paid hundreds of dollars on a worry-free day with your family and it was rained out, wouldn't you be frustrated? Try to keep an open mind and actively listen to their concerns. Often customers are just looking for a sympathetic ear. But you can go above and beyond confirming you understand the situation and exploring possible solutions. Check out my lesson, Avoiding Assumptions in Customer Interactions, for additional ways to achieve empathy in communication. Say a family visits your theme park and there's no food and beverage location that accommodates their son's dietary needs. You listen to their concerns, let them know their frustration is justified, offer to speak to your supervisor and present a solution. Even when circumstances are beyond your control, you can satisfy a customer by making them feel heard and showing you've made an effort to improve their experience. Another way to enhance your customer communication is to make it a reflection of your brand and product. Do this by sticking to brand guidelines. Think of it this way. If you offer a high-end reef tour experience for your attraction, you likely wouldn't pick up customers in a dirty, run-down bus. The best way to assess your brand is by knowing your customer. So let's take a step back. Who is your customer? This is a surprisingly complex question to answer. You've got the customer standing in front of you, of course, but you also have people your business can impact and those who can impact your business. These include your target market customer, your potential customer, and your ideal customer. Let me demonstrate with an example. Say you work at the ticket counter at Rainforest Station Nature Park in Kuranda. Who would you say is your target market? Young people looking for something unique on holiday? Honeymooners? Families? These are the customers you intentionally target with marketing and branding. They typically define your brand voice. If it's a younger audience, you might use trendy lingo. If you're going after families, you'll likely highlight the elements of your attraction suitable for all ages. Potential customers, on the other hand, means anyone likely to engage your business. That might be groups like schools or tours, backpackers, or those visiting friends or relatives. Different market segments to your target, but still segments you can capture with inclusive customer service. And lastly, there's your ideal customer. This customer represents the core of your offering and might influence other ideal customers to visit you. For example, Rainforest Station Nature Park appeals to their ideal customer with their focus on conservation and environmentalism and offers an authentic and traditional Aboriginal experience. Obviously, there can be crossover between these customers. So for your attraction, families might represent your target, potential, and ideal customer segment. But it's worth thinking about carefully because these three types of customers could have different expectations and communication styles. They'll also come across your business with different knowledge of your offerings. For example, an ideal customer who visits frequently and has a strong understanding of your brand could take offence if treated like a first-time customer. Think of a receptionist that asks, "Have you visited our park before?" A simple question like this can help distinguish a potential customer from an ideal one. And this will help you cater your communication so the first-time visitor gets the information they need and the repeat customer gets more time to experience your attraction. Another way to customize communication is by building rapport with each and every customer. To build rapport, kick off your interaction with an open and friendly tone. In person, pay attention to your body language, your tone of voice and facial expression. Ask yourself, is your body language open? Are you smiling? If culturally appropriate, are you making eye contact? When communicating with a customer online, double check your opening and closing statements and how your words come off. Is your greeting on brand? Did you include a call to action and a sign off? A great way to end an email might be, "Let me know how else I can assist you," or "Come back and see us soon." It may help to have a team member read your written communications and verify that it sounds friendly and professional. This is the one mode of communication where customers can't tell when you're smiling, so it's best to play it safe. Let's practice what we've learned. Give yourself a short phrase to say, something like, "Hello, welcome to our attraction. How can I help you today?" Record yourself saying it with a smile, then without a smile. Then listen to the difference. You'll probably find it hard to even say without smiling because you'll instinctively smile to sound friendly. And here are the top 3 learnings to remember. When interacting with customers, always practice empathy, transparency, and courtesy. Make your communication a reflection of your brand. Build rapport by setting the right tone through inflection, vocabulary, and body language. There's a great saying about assumptions. When you assume, you make well, I'm sure you know the rest. Everyone makes assumptions every day. Sometimes they're useful, like when we read someone's facial expression, but sometimes they can undermine your communication and even lead to problematic or prejudiced interactions. This lesson is identifying common assumptions and how to overcome them, so you can deliver the best customer service possible. Let's start by looking at 3 common assumptions. 1. The customer is thrilled to be at the destination. While we'd love for every customer to be excited to experience our attraction, there are a lot of reasons that may affect a customer's attitude and enthusiasm. Maybe this was their second choice because the experience they really wanted was sold out. Maybe the tour leader has a migraine, or maybe everyone's a little emotional because they're on a Make-A-Wish trip and need everything to be just perfect. Whatever the situation might be, you can start your interaction on the right foot by avoiding the assumption that everyone shares the desired enthusiasm. One way to overcome this assumption is by taking cues from the customer. Pay attention to their tone, expression, and body language. Are their arms crossed? Are they smiling? You can learn more about this kind of nonverbal communication in my lesson on effectively communicating in customer service. If you can't get a read on a customer, ask open questions like, what brings you to our attraction today? To get what they need from their interaction, they're likely to be honest. Safe questions like this one will allow the customer to take the lead rather than you guiding them in a direction that could totally miss the mark. Remember, you're there to serve them. And to do that, you'll need to understand where they're coming from and what they're looking for. 2. Traditional family dynamics, titles, and pronouns apply. In all likelihood, they don't. And making the wrong assumption can start an interaction off on the wrong foot before you've even gotten to know your customer. Nothing can sour a mood faster than having your sister referred to as your daughter. Addressing this assumption may look different for each business. Review your organisation's policies to ensure you conduct this interaction in a way that's on brand. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Something as simple as, may I have your name, can keep you from making an assumption that could dampen a customer's mood. 3. Based on their appearance, a customer falls under a certain stereotype. Never assume someone speaks a certain language, likes a particular attraction, or has specific requirements just by looking at them. You can rarely pinpoint someone's abilities or where they've come from just by looking at them. And moreover, you risk offending them by trying to. Avoid stepping in it or making politically incorrect statements by throwing all stereotypes out the door. Ignore them. Instead, can you guess what I'm going to suggest? Yep, ask questions. Ask questions to better understand the customer. When appropriate, queries like, what attractions are you interested in today? Or can we help you with anything else before you head in for your adventure? This type of question can help you gather the information necessary to cater your interaction to the customer's needs without offending them with speculation. You can also steer clear of potentially unsafe situations by having accommodations ready for guests that need them. This could be a wheelchair or translated materials. Have you ever misunderstood someone but were too nervous to ask for clarification? You likely smiled politely or chuckled in acknowledgement, afraid to be difficult. Now imagine what they said was critical to safety, such as secure the safety belt or wear a life jacket. Leading with the assumption that every guest understands you or speaks your language is a safety risk. To combat this, always ask if there are any questions. Opening this door can make guests feel more comfortable voicing when they don't understand something. For example, you can indicate translated materials to show they're available when a guest might not know how to ask or feel uncomfortable doing so. Or you can also ask an open question such as, would you like materials in another language? Or is English okay? Speak to your manager and refer to your internal policy regarding guests in need of translation to enable yourself to give every customer the best experience. While our goal is to offer service that anticipates a customer's needs, remain unbiased and avoid assumptions. It's important to understand you won't always get it right, and I'll let you in on a secret. That's okay. The main thing to remember is to never be afraid to admit you were wrong or made a mistake. Your customer will likely value your honesty and respect you all the more for it. This in turn will reflect positively on your organisation and brand. Let's apply what we've learned to your workplace. Take this time to review your workplace policies on serving customers who might not speak English. Does your organisation have an interpreter on hand? If not, are there translated materials available, such as safety guidelines, park maps, or food and beverage menus? Chances are changing your perspective can help avoid making assumptions before you understand your customer. Before we go, here's 3 learnings to keep in mind. Ask open questions to better understand your customer and their needs. If you make a mistake, admit it. And it's okay to not always get it right. Have you ever eaten scroggin? How about trail mix or schmoggle or gulp? No matter where you're from or what you call it, this popular snack is a combination of various ingredients, some savoury and some sweet. The flavours complement one another, right? And together they satisfy both the sugar and salt lovers amongst us. Not to mention, they all work together to fuel us throughout our day, whether you're serving up a great customer experience or enjoying ourselves at any one of Queensland's incredible tours and attractions. When it comes to customer service, the blend of your culturally different target, potential and ideal audience is just like a bag of trail mix. By powering the improvement of your brand and service, this diversity can improve the customer experience, satisfying every kind of customer. In this lesson, we'll cover the importance of customer diversity, as well as how inclusivity can enhance the customer experience for everyone. Whether you work at Cairns Zoom and Wildlife Dome, the Australian Butterfly Sanctuary, or one of the boats heading to the Great Barrier Reef, customers from all different backgrounds will come to experience your product in Queensland or wherever you are in the world. So it's crucial to understand the necessity of inclusion of all types of people in your audience and your workplace. In my lesson on the importance of the customer, I spoke to the vital role customers play within our industry. They're at the core of everything we do. And when we don't equip ourselves to serve those from all walks of life, we risk undermining the entire foundation of attractions and hospitality. It's as silly as only offering forks at a place that serves soup. Your customers miss out on what could be the best part of the experience. But let's look at it from another perspective. Consider this. If every member of your team was from the same place, grew up in the same kind of home, went to the same schools, and had exactly the same kind of experiences, it'd get a little boring, right? Where would new ideas come from, and how would you learn? On the other hand, when your workplace is made up of people from different backgrounds and cultures, you end up with a much more dynamic team. Sure, you won't always share the same opinions or perspectives, but that's really the best part. To foster an inclusive work environment, it's important to ditch stereotypes. These can encourage harmful and often incorrect expectations of others and prevent growth and progress in your organisation. You can learn more about the impact of stereotypes on customer service in my lesson on avoiding assumptions in customer service. It's also key to your team and brand's development to recognise how the presence of different cultures can enhance the experience for everyone. Think of it this way. You're in the Wildlife Dome where there's so much to see, and while you're looking at Goliath, that incredible crocodile being fed, your friend grabs your attention to go see the cute koalas being given their new gum leaves, improving your experience tenfold. You could have completely missed it if it wasn't for their unique perspective. Diversity benefits your team in the same way, by introducing you to a bunch of unique perspectives. One of the best things about tourism is the diversity of people, and how the greater your inclusivity is, the more open-minded you can become. In addition to their diverse perspectives, people from different backgrounds bring different needs and expectations. For example, customers from cultures that value personal space may ask for a quiet space on a tour to pray in, and those who wear modest garments for religious or cultural reasons may need to know the locations of shade structures to keep out of the heat. Enable yourself to meet those needs by developing an inclusive mindset and embracing all there is to gain from a multi-sociocultural workplace. Start by educating yourself. Are you aware of how your organisation supports customers when it comes to their cultural, religious, lingual or dietary needs? In order to provide the best service possible, you want to know and or be able to communicate the various customer amenities that your attraction offers. For example, some theme parks or scuba diving tours require customers to remove headwear to participate in certain activities. In your work operations, you should be aware of the exceptions that accommodate those who wear hijabs, kippah or turbans, to name a few. If you work in a location that provides food and beverage, you should know how to access your attraction's allergy menu and have at least basic knowledge of your kosher, vegan and gluten-free options. And no matter where you work, it's important to be knowledgeable of customer-accessible quiet spots or private rooms. This will enable you to aid customers should they need to pray, breastfeed in private or take a break from the environmental triggers. But know that that's not all. Keep an open mind and equip yourself to meet the needs of every customer with a smile. And remember, whether you work for a day tour, reef tour attraction, zoo, park or cafe, anywhere that provides service and expects to be paid for that service only exists because of the customer. Let's start by assessing what your attraction offers that supports different cultural needs and expectations. Can you think of one or two quiet places at your location where a customer could get some privacy? What's a vegan food item available at your attraction? Does your experience have any clothing requirements? And what exceptions are made for those with religious or cultural needs? Take note and talk with a supervisor to fill in any gaps. To review, here are 3 of the learnings we've covered in this lesson. Ditch stereotypes, enough said. Know that different customers will have different needs and you should be prepared to meet them all. And finally, the first step to developing an inclusive mindset is education. Have you ever run through a maze? Providing a quality customer experience can be surprisingly similar. You have to make decisions at every turn to move forward and achieve your goal of getting to the other side. To give you the tools to make these decisions, this lesson will cover ways to get to know your customer better, understand what they're looking for, and tailor your interactions through each step of the customer life cycle. So the only thing that they have to worry about is having a good time. In my lesson on effectively communicating customer service, I covered how to conduct customer interactions that are transparent, courteous, and empathetic. Remember to avoid assumptions and get to know your customer. You can do this by asking questions and listening to understand their hopes and expectations. Of course, how you're able to respond to their needs will be enhanced by your knowledge of your product or your experience. Get to know your service offerings. It's one thing to know the opening and closing times of the attraction, but it's a whole new ballpark when you can share the free feeding times for the different animals. It's also beneficial to develop relationships with other customer servers within the region to learn how other members of the hospitality industry meet customers' expectations. Here are some ways to meet your customers' needs at each point of the customer experience lifecycle. When it comes to your digital presence, you should respond promptly to avoid keeping a customer waiting. That means replying to messages within 24 hours and answering phones by at least the 3rd ring. When greeting customers in person, do it as quickly as possible. Now that doesn't mean drop what you're doing. A simple acknowledgement such as, "Hello, I'll be right with you," will do. Next, let's look at first contact. If your customer has been waiting, the first thing to do is thank them for their patience rather than apologising for the wait that they had to endure to get to you. This and a smile will let them know you're there for them. Your customer is here for a good time, so be friendly and get them excited. Enthusiasm is infectious. Show your enthusiasm about what they'll experience at your attraction. It's extra important at this stage to be careful not to jump in with assumptions when interacting with customers. Avoid inferring titles and pronouns. For more info on this topic, refer to my lesson on avoiding assumptions in customer service. Now, customer requests are really the time to communicate how you can add value. The Steve Jobs quote from my lesson on the importance of the customer applies here too. Get closer than ever to your customers, so close that you tell them what they need well before they realise it themselves. Your role is to let your customer know how to have the best time with you. And this means you not only provide access to your venue, but additional information about how their visit can be even more special. For example, to enhance a customer's wildlife park experience, you might say, "I see you have tickets for next Wednesday with your family. We have a special price for crocodile pics during the school holidays." Customer requests are another great opportunity to shine. Not every request can be fulfilled, but you should use your training to provide an experience that will satisfy the request. If the customer says, for example, "I want to stand in the koala enclosure," you could answer with, "Unfortunately, we don't offer an experience like that, but we do have an extraordinary behind the scenes with the koala experience, which reception could book in for you." When it comes to the experience of your product, it's up to you to guide the experience. Be sure to communicate all the options available to the customer. Don't assume they've read the brochure from cover to cover or completely consumed the information online. If you're on a boat in the Barrier Reef, explain the snorkeling tour and let them know when the photos will be available. You don't want to oversell it, but do let them know what they can typically expect to see while snorkeling and what to be on the lookout for. At the zoo, there are many extras that can add to the experience. Don't assume your customers know all of your offerings or that you know what would be of interest to them. Engage and ask them about their interests and the type of format they want. Are they looking for small group experiences or bigger show gatherings? Help them tailor their itinerary for their best experience. Imagine these 2 scenarios after your customer has finished their experience. Number 1, you overhear them say, "That was nice, the animals are cute." Number 2, "That was incredible, I'll have to bring my family back when they visit." If you hear scenario number 2, then you know you've hit the customer experience target. The last impression is as important as the first. Your customer wants to tell you about their experience, so ask and listen. You can add to their joy by sharing their enthusiasm, and you can help to negate any disappointments with empathy. Sincerely thank them for coming and participating. Remember that lots of attractions have a gift shop, and be prepared to recommend items. Dive into the product knowledge so you can share what makes these gifts so special, instead of it just being a way to exit the building. Then be sure to share the customer feedback, good and bad, with your team. This can help others tailor their tours accordingly. One thing to keep in mind if you are customer facing is that customers often prepare for the worst. This is what I call being on their front foot. It's your job to get them on their back foot, or to make them feel at ease and excited about their experience. This isn't just the responsibility of the tour operator or the customer experience representative. This could be the cafe server, the gift shop salesperson, caretaker, and everyone else who comes in contact with the customer. A customer starts on the front foot because they've paid for their experience and likely have expectations of what that experience will be. For example, a customer who has come to see the crocodile feeding will likely expect to see lively, jumping, snapping crocs. But what if the crocs have another idea? Maybe when the customer arrives, the crocodiles are lying at the edge of the water enjoying a little nap. In this instance, you've come to a turn in the maze, and this is your opportunity to put the customer on the back foot. I'd skip lunch for a nap too, you might say, or did you know that crocs can literally sleep with one eye open? Engage with the customer and find out what other animals or experiences they might be interested in seeing. Find a positive spin, and they won't remember their visit as boring. They'll recall the fun and informative experience that you provided. To cement what we've learnt, think of some common obstacles you encounter at your attraction. Do you work with animals that prefer privacy? How about a roller coaster that closes for lightning? Is an area of your experience closed for renovations? Then think of a positive way you can spin this obstacle for customers. Maybe it's a joke, a fun fact, or a suitable alternative. Arm yourself with these kinds of backups to turn an obstacle into an opportunity. Here are 3 key learnings to remember. At every stage of the customer experience lifecycle, be sure to respond promptly. Find something about your attraction that you love and share that experience with customers. And finally, remember that you have the power to turn around your customer's experience, so it's important to stay enthusiastic, courteous, and informed. Have you ever taken a trip and had 0 complaints? Everything ran on schedule, you got to do everything you wanted to, and everyone in your group was happy the whole time? Probably not, right? Often complaints and conflict are unavoidable, and that's where customer service really has the chance to shine. In this lesson, we'll take a look at how to approach customer concerns, when to escalate it, and what you can do to avoid repeat incidents. No matter how much we try to please our customers, there will always be individuals who are dissatisfied with our product, experience, or interaction, even if a few of these factors may be out of our control. While some complaints may be unpreventable, there are certain ways to approach customer criticism in a way that's respectful and empathetic, whether the critique presents itself in person or online. When it comes to addressing complaints given in person, it's important to check how you're presenting yourself. Remember, the customer can see your body language and facial expressions, and these often play a role in how the interaction progresses. A sour face can mean the difference between a positive outcome and a customer left unsatisfied. Be sure to show empathy and genuine concern through your physical and verbal responses. Listen and let the customer express their feelings too. Cutting them off early can give them complaint constipation. It's a real thing. Think of a time your friend or parent offered their advice when all you really wanted was to vent. It can be frustrating, right? The simple step of allowing the customer to fully explain their issue can de-escalate the situation and bring comfort to the customer. For further understanding of how active listening can positively affect customer interactions, refer to my lesson on effectively communicating in customer service. Online complaints received through emails or in public posts can be easier because you are not pressured by a spontaneous in-person interaction, but they can also be difficult if you're less comfortable with written communication. Here are some guidelines to help you address online complaints. First off, you always want to respond promptly, especially when it's posted in a public forum. This can help ease any negative feelings the customer may hold. It will also show anyone else who may read the complaint, like potential customers, that your organisation values customer feedback and takes concerns seriously. You'll also want to read through the complaint carefully. Even a prompt response won't help if you've misunderstood the customer's critique. Once you've recognised their core complaint, write your reply clearly and concisely. Review my lesson on avoiding assumptions in customer service to arm yourself with the tools needed to avoid further customer frustration. At times, a complaint may escalate into a conflict, and one way to prepare for any conflicts that may arise is to review your organisation's policies and procedures. Once you're familiar with on-brand responses available to you, you can approach a conflict using the LEAST model. Listen, empathise, acknowledge, solve, and thank. Just like with any kind of customer communication, you should start by listening to understand. Ask questions if anything is unclear, while maintaining a kind, neutral tone. Next, you'll want to show empathy and acknowledgement of the customer's concerns. Some helpful phrases might be, "I completely understand," or "I hear you." Even these simple statements show the customer that you both want the same thing, for them to leave having had a positive experience with your brand. It's important to follow up your acknowledgement with a solution. This can present itself in a number of ways. It could be something as simple as delivering an item that was missing from their order. It could also translate to a discount on a future experience or a refund. If the customer addresses something that reveals a greater issue, the solution may be to escalate their complaint with your supervisor. More on that a little later. Finally, always thank the customer for making you aware of the situation and giving you the opportunity to improve their experience, or the experience of the next customer. While you should always do your best to personally handle the complaint, you may find yourself faced with a situation beyond your scope of control or experience. In this case, it is acceptable to escalate the complaint. You can do this by asking a colleague for assistance or turning it over to your supervisor or another department better versed in that particular situation. When you do take a complaint to another member of your team, communicate any steps that have been taken up to that point to ensure a smooth handover and avoid further agitation for the customer. Once the complaint has been satisfied, share your learning experience with your team. Tell them how you managed the complaint, highlighting the specific successful actions that resolved the situation. This will ensure that similar experiences can be managed in a more efficient way and best practices can be put in place to avoid any negative experiences into the future. Let's assess how prepared you are to vet complaints with active listening. Do you remember the name of the model for addressing conflict? If you guessed LEAST, you're right. Can you remember which lessons I referenced? If you guessed effectively communicating or avoiding assumptions in customer service, you're well on your way to being a great conflict mediator. If you missed anything, feel free to watch these lessons and practice being present. It can make all the difference in the impression you leave a customer with. I'll leave you with 3 learnings from this lesson. As highlighted in Lesson 1, the customer experience is your top priority. Look at each complaint as an opportunity to enhance the customer experience and improve procedures. When handling conflict, remember LEAST. Listen, empathise, acknowledge, solve, and thank. Finally, share your experience with your team. You may handle situations in a way they haven't even yet thought of. Hey, thanks for hanging with us. Good luck, and remember, customer experience matters.